Welcome to Scoreboard, the podcast that explores how athletes, both current and retired, define success beyond the game. Each episode dives into the mindset, financial decisions, and career choices that shape their personal scoreboard, whether they're still in the arena or transitioning to life after sport. From victories to challenges, we reveal how athletes take charge of their own paths and decide what truly matters on their scoreboard of life. I'm your host, Chris Titley, and welcome to Scoreboard. Welcome to episode 1 of Scoreboard, the podcast, and today we've got a very special guest live from Denver. We've got Spencer Jones, a rookie for the Denver Nuggets in the NBA, about to play his first season. Spencer, thank you so much for being part of this series and being the first guest.
Thanks. No, I appreciate it. I'm honored to be the first one.
Now, I'm going to get straight to it in regards to the scoreboard and what your personal scoreboard looks like at this time in the moment. What do you define as success coming into your first season into the NBA?
For me, success, I try to take a holistic approach. You grow up and, success for me was like, I had dreams of being a basketball player and everything like that. So success would be making the NBA and stuff like that. As you start to achieve those goals, you always look to push further and further on that. So, I don't know, success is just always having enjoyable challenges that you can overcome, even though you aren't, currently, it's always having something ahead to look for and always finding ways to get, to renew those challenges as you solve them and finding new ones.
And when it comes to basketball, let's go back to the early days in your life, where that first pickup of the ball, where that first interest happened, and how did that what age were you and what drove the spark?
Yeah, for me, I was always I was a pretty rambunctious kid who just kind of liked hanging out with people and stuff like that. And I had an older brother, and a lot of the kids around the neighborhood were around his age and stuff like that. And so they would always play sports and everything like that. And so growing up, I was always annoyed that I was too young, too small to get out there. And then eventually when I got big enough, it was one of the first sports we used to always do together was hoops. And this was around, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years old and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where it grew, just, wanting to be out there with my older brother and all his friends and stuff like that playing outside.
And Spencer, I assume growing up as a kid, your dream was to play in the NBA. And now you've been selected by the Denver Nuggets as a rookie to play in the NBA. I'm curious to know how that feels.
Feels great, honestly. A couple trials and tribulations to get there, stumps in the road that you had to overcome, and, you're better for it. Obviously, when you're going through it, you wish you weren't. But now that I kind of went through it and got through it, it's you're happy, for that path and everything, and almost don't wish it any other way, just things you've learned. So.
And in regards to the support crew around you of getting and fulfilling your dream, I've seen sports athletes described as being selfish for a period of time to get to where they want to be. How important has that been? And is there people around you that have backed you from day one?
Oh, absolutely. There have been people who backed me from day one. I didn't know how realistic the NBA vision was for a decent amount of my time. Honestly, probably not till about halfway through my college career did it actually look like a substantial possibility for just the normal person looking at it. I really relied on the support. I remember, getting to Stanford was kind of a, interesting path just because I was the last person admitted. It was a very last minute recruiting process where they found me very late in my senior year, which is very rare for basketball recruiting. And so I honestly didn't think I would have played in the Power 5 Division I level until around then. And then, I had a substantial injury my senior year of college, or my 5th year of college, my last year playing, that I thought might have hurt the hopes of being an NBA guy, just because I didn't take the jump I thought I needed to have to be drafted. And obviously I wasn't drafted, but I was able to still get signed to the team and have a guaranteed contract for the year and stuff like that. So I still found a way to get there. And, it was all the support system, all the, medical staff, coaches, parents, everything like that kind of, helps you get to the day-to-day stuff that eventually, leads to the goal.
Yeah, and Spencer, talking about your college years, you broke a few records in your college.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel looking back now as a chapter in your life, and obviously now moving forward into the NBA, trying to get onto the court and succeed so much? Does it feel like it's a distant memory, or does it feel pretty fresh to you still?
It's just all this stuff just goes by so fast. It still feels fresh, but at the same time, the whole draft process was long, grueling, that it almost feels like it was a little bit of ways away at the same time. But no, it's always nice to have, some sort of legacy, especially at a place like Stanford, where I know if I return, I'll be remembered in some spaces and stuff like that. So it's like just nice to know that you'll have that community because of what I've done and things like that. But obviously I would have definitely have traded some of those personal records for more team achievement and everything like that always. But no, yeah, it's definitely something I really, really hang on to.
I'm curious as to know, when you're on the basketball court and you come off and you finish the game, whether, like, on a percentage basis, whether you come off feeling happy half the time or 3/4 of the time or 25% of the time, or like, oh, we can improve, or a bit disappointed, and the feelings that go through you when you finish a basketball game.
Yeah, I can be my own worst critic at times. I'm not typically the happiest. I mean, there's this, you always get that sense of relief after the game's over, in terms of like, you can relax because you're so hyped up, so revved up, and always in that kind of killer mode for that long time. It's nice to, bring it down and relax. So you always get that sense of relief. I wouldn't define it as happiness necessarily, because, you still love the game, and, there's always things I'm looking at as, shoot, I could have done this better, or, I'm always critiquing myself on what I could have done in the game, and did I give it everything? And, more times than not, you're telling yourself no, even though you probably did, because you always feel like, as you get higher up, you're always looking for ways to try to improve yourself and everything like that. So I'm always critiquing myself, always looking at very small things that, many people would overlook, that I'm just like, I wish I did that a little bit better.
And when you're growing up, when you were selected in teams or not selected in teams, how did that feel in regards to disappointment? Was there one particular moment that maybe drove you a bit harder in terms of selection? Because it probably can be brutal in regards to not being picked or being picked, etc. Has there been moments of disappointment in your life? And you did mention the injury before, but moments of disappointment that thought, okay, I'm going to throw in the towel.
Yeah, there was definitely a couple of those moments early on. I didn't have too many of those moments, just because I was usually pretty good around it, so I was always selected for the various teams and everything. But no, around my senior year of college was a very distinct moment. I remember, it was my final game actually of my senior season in high school. Sorry, it's not college, high school. But no, it felt like it was my best chance to get that Power 5 offer. I think it was Northwestern. The head coach came out, and my high school was a very good basketball school and everything like that. We had won 3 state championships in a row coming into my senior season, and then we were going for the 4P, which I don't think we had since ever, and everything like that. But we ended up losing like a sub-state game to a small town team that we should have blown out, and we lose that game off like a last second shot or whatever. Is devastating loss, obviously, because it's your last high school game and everything like that. And plus, I didn't have a terrible game, but I didn't have a great one. And it was in front of a school like Northwestern that I was, would have been very excited to have taken the offer. And so after that, they obviously didn't offer me, and didn't really know where the basketball would have gone after that, just because, my parents kind of had, I've come from a very academic family and everything like that. And so, I wasn't going to sacrifice academics just to play sports. And so Northwestern was like one of those options where it's like I didn't have to. But, with them falling through, it was kind of like, okay, I have the grades to get into better schools than what basketball is offering me. So am I going to play basketball in college? And that was kind of something that was wearing on me a little bit towards the end of the season. And so it was just something where I had to rely on the support and everything. And, going into that final AAU season, it was a little bit of a struggle, but I just, had to prepare every day and just, see if an offer would come and everything like that. And, Stanford came along with some others, but Stanford was definitely the best option. And, luckily I got through it and got to that.
Now, you mentioned grades. I'm interested to know what you're studying and what your views are around a career post-sport. Sometimes the life of an NBA player can last 15 years or it can last 15 seconds. So I'm keen to understand your thought process around life post-sport.
No, yeah. Going into Stanford, I majored in, they call it management science engineering. It's like industrial engineering for many other schools is how they call it. But no, I've always been interested in the healthcare space, just because my dad, my grandfather were both physicians and everything. So I've been around medicine a long time, but I didn't necessarily ever want to be a doctor, but I was very interested in the business side of it, or, being in like the technical side of it with all the advancements with AI and everything like that. So I always keep interested in, the startup space with health tech, and even sports tech with sports performance and sports medicine, performance, everything like that. So, the great thing now is, you're an NBA player, so you have a decent platform and stuff like that. And so, one thing I'm just looking to do as I'm obviously spending most of my hours, trying to be the best NBA player I can, is also trying to use my platform to, maybe ease the transition later on, get connected with certain companies and stuff like that, and just, do what I can to use this great platform that I have to kind of, figure out the rest of my life.
No, for sure, definitely. And let's get on to the NBA now. The Denver Nuggets, have you guys got together? You're training in the preseason. You met all your teammates, etc.?
Yeah, not everybody yet. So typically, not everybody has to report, or at least the veterans don't have to report till training camp, which is, I think, in like 2 weeks, end of September. But they bring in all the young guys, pretty much all the guys who have been on the team for probably like 3 years or less, and all the new guys. And so I kind of like that because, you get a little bit of that college feel. Everybody's around the same age, stuff like that, so it's been nice. And yeah, so it's not too bad right now. It's a little less than college right now, honestly, just because we're not in the full swing. It's just, it's just about 3-4 hours a day. And then, you kind of have the rest of the day to kind of figure it out. I mean, obviously a lot of guys will go back in the gym, so there's more hours there, but that's kind of on your own. That's kind of the professional life, is a lot more autonomy.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a fair bit of downtime in as a professional athlete, but not huge in the NBA. But what do you get up to? Do you do some hobbies? Do you get out there and sort of put basketball to one side, or is it 24/7 in your head?
No, it's always been a conscious effort not to make it 24/7. Always have something outside to clear yourself. Honestly, me mentally, that always makes you a better player when you can unload some of the things you always stress about on the floor. So it's just not always in your mind, because if it's constantly on your mind, you're just going to stress about it more on the court. And that was a big reason why I enjoyed Stanford. It was very easy to do something like that. You could always get outside and a bunch, it's you're around Silicon Valley. Everybody else has got their own things going on that you can kind of hear about and get interested in. So it kind of opened your eyes, and perspective on everything. But no, yeah, being in Colorado's, in Denver's really nice. I'm big on getting outside, getting outdoors. Done a couple hikes, run a little bit, enjoy the parks, walk around the city. Just kind of anything I can do to get outside, and I read a little bit on my own time as well.
Now let's talk about money for a second. There's a lot of money sloshing around in the NBA for players, a little bit more than what you were getting paid in college. But as we discussed before, the career may not last forever. So I'm interested to know what your views are about financial security and how you approach that leading into your first season.
For me, the biggest thing is to just, keep track of my spending. The biggest thing is the lifestyle creep that usually gets people, just because, like you said, you never know how long your career is going to be. So you just want to make sure you know how much you're spending, how much your yearly expenses are, so you can kind of prepare for how much you need to make to, have a life that suits you, everything like that. And I've kind of never really been a big spender, so a lot of it's just been kind of investing for me. I'm not too worried about my spending habits, but yeah, I mean, having some money from college also helps. So I kind of used pretty much all my NIL money just to have like just to set my basic investments that everybody needs. Your Roth IRA, your high yield savings, and a little bit in the S&Ps and stuff like that. And so, kind of with the extra stuff from the NBA, it's kind of like maybe more diversifying my investments with like real estate or something in in the startup space, stuff like that. But I can get a bit more creative with it, and with that comes the learning opportunity of being an investor and learning kind of venture and capital. So.
And Spencer, some of your peers and friends, have they been picked up with NBA teams as well? Do you know some similar friends in your situation where you can sort of WhatsApp and say, hey, what's going on? Or is this normal, or is this what you normally do?
I mean, there's a decent amount of guys I knew that got picked up. I mean, Harrison Ingram, who played at Stanford and then went to North Carolina, got picked up in the second round at the Spurs and stuff like that. And then you generally know a decent amount of guys. As you get better and better, the community gets smaller and smaller. So you've played against guys, you've interacted with guys, and so like even some of the guys on the team, I've interacted with before, even going through the whole draft process and stuff. And so the community, like I said, the community gets pretty small the better you get. So yeah, I have a decent amount of guys I can talk to about certain things.
Some final questions. I'm going to ask about some personality traits, and you can answer how you want. Resilience. Are you a resilient person?
I would say so, very much so. Yeah.
Patient.
Yes, I'd say patient. Yeah, more so than most.
Confident.
Confident took some time, but yes, I'd say I'm confident.
And the blurriness and greyness between confidence and arrogance.
The blurriness and arrogance. One thing I've always found is that, the best players do have a decent amount of arrogance to them, like an irrational confidence, just because it's like to take those risks in games and stuff like that, you almost need it, So I don't see arrogance, especially in sport. I don't really see arrogance as a terrible thing. Now, outside of sports, absolutely, but inside of sports, like, the trash talking, everything like that, you need a little bit of that in order to take these kind of risks in games and do things that some of these guys do. But yeah, the blurry line is kind of like how much you have to back it up, like how much have you earned the right to have your confidence. But like I said, like if the first game I walk into playing with the Denver Nuggets, like I'm not going to have anything to really back up my confidence for really being out there. It'll be my first game in the NBA. Yeah, sure, I'll have college stats and everything like that, but I haven't really played an NBA game. So I'm going to need a little bit of arrogance, to say that, this confidence might be irrational, but it's going to come to fruition eventually.
Do you pump yourself up or not?
Yeah, I have my own ways of pumping myself up. From the outside, it doesn't seem like it, but from the inside, I have certain ways of thinking that, you kind of have to after a while, especially, transferring the NBA where it's 82 games instead of 40. Like there are going to be days, you don't want to be out there. So you have to find ways to pump yourself up.
Are you superstitious?
No, I've never really been superstitious in terms of that. I definitely have a routine that I stick to, but sometimes life gets in the way every once in a while, so you have to be able to adjust and prepare for that.
And how are you on the road, on traveling and getting on planes and staying in hotel rooms?
It does wear on you a little bit, after a while. Even in college, I'm sure it will a little bit in the NBA, just because, like most of the time you're recovering and stuff like that. So you're not really, even though you're traveling, you're not really seeing the city. It just feels like you're just going from one hotel room to the next. But like I said, as long as you keep a routine, something that's familiar, that feels like home a little bit, that's kind of how you get through it.
Spencer, thanks so much for having a chat today, and all the best in the rookie season at the NBA with the Denver Nuggets. It's very much appreciated for you to come on and give your time to be this first episode of the Scoreboard. I really look forward to following your progress and really look forward to catching up, and hopefully one day we can meet face to face.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. This is fantastic.